So, which states are the harshest when it comes to the good herb in today's modern society? Today we're counting down the top 5 strictest states, the places where even small amounts can mean jail, where concentrates are felonies, and where employers can still fire you for THC. I'll also drop 3 honorable mentions that are trying hard to keep prohibition alive, so let's get into it. Now before we go through the rankings, here's how I scored this. I based my rankings on specific factors, such as criminal penalties for small amounts, and whether concentrates or edibles are treated separately, paraphernalia laws, fines and sentencing ranges. We also considered things like employment. Can you still be tested or fired for THC? Also access. Is there medical, adult use, recreational, or no home grow at all? And finally, signals of negative public policy. And what's the official government posture like? Were there recent crackdowns and any proposed restrictions? Now at number 5 on the list of the most strict states when it comes to the good herb is Indiana. Indiana keeps it old school. No medical program, no adult use rec. Possession is still a crime. First time possession under 30 grams is a misdemeanor. Up to 180 days in jail and $1,000 fine. With a prior, it jumps up to a year and $5,000. Paraphernalia possession is criminal. Typically a Class C misdemeanor. Up to 60 days and $500, and can scale upward with priors. That's strict compared to neighbors moving forward. Especially considering just over state lines is Illinois, and they're completely legalized. Now attempts in Indiana to legalize or even decriminalize have stalled repeatedly. As of 2025, advocates note multiple failed bills died in committee, and that leaves Indiana among the few states with no medical and criminal penalties intact. Now next up at number 4 we got Texas. Texas is a paradox. A limited low THC compassionate use program does exist, but outside of that it's tough, especially for concentrates. Possession of less than 1 gram of concentrate is a state jail felony, up to 2 years and $10,000. Go above that and penalties escalate fast. Flower possession can still mean jail. 2 to 4 ounces is a Class A misdemeanor, up to 1 year and $4,000. Now when it comes to the employment angle and whether you can be fired for the use of the herb, it's actually pretty interesting. On the job, Texas is very employer friendly. Private employers can run drug-free or zero tolerance policies, and they can test. There's almost no limitation under state or federal law, and no broad employment protections for off-duty cannabis use either. So when it comes to Texas, it's definitely an interesting one. A little bit of a paradox, if you will. They do have a medical program, but it pretty much sucks. Now next at number 3 we got Kansas, and boy is this a far way away from legalization, Dorothy. Kansas remains no medical, no adult use. Paraphernalia penalties are aggressive. Using paraphernalia to store, ingest, or cultivate fewer than 5 plants is a misdemeanor, up to 1 year in jail and a $2,500 fine. In Kansas, even the sale of paraphernalia can mean up to a year in jail. Now when it comes to employment and testing and whether you can get fired for using, Kansas also permits testing, especially for safety sensitive roles, which fits the overall strict posture. Kansas is against the good herb. So even though Kansas has tons of windmills, that's about the only thing they want you rolling up. Now the second most strict state when it comes to the good herb is Wyoming. Wyoming has no adult use and no real medical access beyond very limited allowances. The standout thing here though is that concentrates are treated extremely harshly. Possession of more than 0.3 grams of a liquid concentrate can be a felony with up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. And truth is, that's a tiny threshold with heavy penalties. Lawmakers may periodically revisit the penalties, but the overall posture remains punitive, keeping Wyoming near the top of this very strict list. So even if you love Wyoming, they may not love the good herb. They actually want to keep it out. So you may want to stay out, especially if you happen to have some concentrate on you. Just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics. Use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans. Now next up is the strictest state, the zero state. No medical, no adult use, no decriminalization. Idaho is the strictest state in America on the good herb in 2025. There's no medical program, no adult use, and no decriminalization. Official state messaging is explicitly anti-legalization, and lawmakers recently moved to tighten penalties rather than loosen them. When it comes to the penalties and paraphernalia, even paraphernalia is super serious. Possession is a misdemeanor, up to 1 year and $1,000. The manufacture or sale is a felony, up to 9 years and $30,000. In 2025, the legislature actually passed a mandatory minimum $300 fine just for simple possession, and that removes the judicial discretion to go any lower. Now, even businesses which are set up legally and operating under federal law dealing in hemp business, they're also facing tons of issues when they drive through Idaho. We've seen Idaho invest in testing equipment for police officers, and when it comes to employment, Idaho also empowers employers. Workplace drug testing is broadly permitted, with no protections for cannabis use simply because it's illegal across the board. Zero tolerance policies are extremely commonplace. So Idaho may be a beautiful place, but they do not love the beautiful plant. That's one thing that we know for sure. So that was the top 5, but like I promised you guys, we got a few honorable mentions, and first off is Tennessee. They still got no full medical program, just hemp-derived CBD carve-outs. And over in Tennessee, simple possession can be a Class A misdemeanor, up to 1 year and fines. And when we're talking about paraphernalia possession, that's also a misdemeanor, with up to 1 year and $2,500 fines. Now localities may vary, but at the state level, it's still criminalization forward. Now, our second honorable mention goes to Wisconsin. They got great cheese curds, but they don't love the good herb. Now, over in Wisconsin, there's no adult use and no statewide medical program. First offense possession of any amount whatsoever can mean up to 6 months and a $1,000 fine. Subsequent offenses, however, are felonies, up to 3.5 years in jail and a $10,000 fine. Paraphernalia is also punishable by up to 30 days and $500 in fines. So over in Wisconsin, they're definitely pro-criminalization, and that's not a good thing. And on top of that, they do carry out busts and raids quite frequently. Now, our third honorable mention for one of the strictest states when it comes to the good herb in America is South Carolina. Over there, they allow an only very limited low THC allowance. Otherwise, it's completely illegal. Possession of concentrates can draw jail time, even at smaller amounts. And the state enforces drug-free zones near places like schools, parks, and those have enhanced penalties. Paraphernalia is generally unlawful, and it's often cited or fined depending on the circumstances. So South Carolina may have some beautiful beaches, but they don't consider the good herb to be beautiful. So all that said, what does this all mean? Well, here's the big picture. While most of the country has moved towards medical or adult use legalization, a handful of states still maintain strict criminal penalties and also employer-friendly drug testing. So if you're traveling, remember that concentrates are where many of these states actually hit the hardest. Wyoming and Texas are standout examples. And over in Idaho, it's basically prohibition from end to end. Now, did I miss a state that you guys think should crack the top 5? Drop your experiences and sources in the comments down below. Now, if this list saved you a headache or a potential court date, hit that like, share, and subscribe. But if you want to find out what are the most weed-friendly states in America, then check this video out because it's coming up right now.